Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. We're going to finish up today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's special selection comes at us from a person from Germany. Greetings, Bryan. I'd like you to react to a song by the band Nornir. It is a cover version of Helvegen, originally by the band Wardruna. Nornír has been playing it live since at least 2021, but it has just recently released on their excellent latest studio album, Schooled. This album came out in December of 2023, so this is certainly brand new music from them. The requester did express a little bit of concern, though, because we have checked this song out in the past. Funny enough, not the original, though. I still have not heard Wardruna's original version of this, but we did check out a cover from Calandra, which means that this is going to be the most covered reaction, a reaction to the most covered song that we've done on the channel. Most of their concern came from the fact that I've heard the song in some version before, and also that the lyrics aren't any different, so I won't have anything new to say on there. But I do believe that if the band is doing something different enough, that my relationship to the lyrics and their connections to the themes of the music I'll have a new perspective on all of that, and we'll probably have something worth diving into, regardless of the fact that the lyrics haven't been changed at all. So with that said, let's dive into this, see what's going on with Nornir's version of Helvegen. Yeah, so firmly sitting in that, like, folk metal realm. Beautiful harmonies. Did I hear some throat singing there? Okay. Really great production on this. And I find it intriguing how present the vocals are for a black metal track. But I have a theory about that. There's a lot of power and strength in the vocals. Alright. Yeah, I think it's interesting how close that is while still being like drastically different from the Calandra version that we listened to, which I assume because there's so much compositional overlap that these are rather accurate covers, accurate-ish at least. Uh, if two groups are going to take an original song and drastically alter it, you're going to figure there aren't very many things that tie over between them aside from maybe a motif present somewhere in the song. But from what I remember of Calandra's version, which really wasn't that long ago, we checked it out in June of last year. This holds a lot of what I remember from that one. Primarily, the opening bit is spot on. We have I don't know, they sound like folk drums, like really big drums using fuzzy mallets, uh, just one drum, and then just hitting the rhythm on it. Not a full kit, and definitely not any of the instruments that I would expect in a metal kit. This definitely feels distinct from the drum kit. And we have the guitar giving us the one note in the background that eventually changes to another, and then another, and it comes back. We have this elongated chord progression. And we sit on the first note forever, and then we have a little bit of movement, we come back. Above that, though, above the monotony of that, are just gorgeous vocal chords. Vocal chords. Like these things. That's... Oh my god. Oh man, it might be too early. That should not have made me laugh that hard. Chords from our vocalists. Alright, I gotta compose myself. Gorgeous stuff, though. Absolutely love it. I remember this was one of the big details that I enjoyed in Calandra's version as well. Is just the beautiful harmonies coming from the vocalists over rather... I think these were more simple. as far as the instrumental bits underneath, but I think it makes sense also given where it's going. And I think this is my favorite parallel here, is that we have this opening part. It presents the chords we're going to hear through root tones. It presents a basic rhythm, and it presents the vocal melody. Now, there's a simplicity to all of this that Calandra went in more of a more harmonic depth perspective on. But where Nornir, I think, stands apart is the way that they adapt it to their style. I have no idea who Calandra is. I don't know what kind of music they typically play. And technically, I don't know who Nornir is either. But looking at this band logo and listening to the music they just played, I'm going to wager they're a black metal band. And so they took this sound, presented it in the folk style, which is the same way Calandra did. So I'm going to assume that Wardruna's was also more of a folk metal idea. They present it that way to begin with, and then they adapt it to their sound. And I thought this was really seamless because we end up with 16th note picking on the same notes that we had earlier. It's just faster now. It's wall of sound. There's two guitars doing it rather than one. The drums took the repetitiveness in the original drum work and made more repetitive drum ideas, but this time with blast beats. They turned it into a black metal sound. The vocals above it became that black metal harsh, kind of high pitch and shrieky, feels like it's half yell, half compression, fry scream. But there's diversity to pitch as well, or at least perceived pitch. Probably changing mouth shape and tongue placement, all sorts of wild stuff that goes into harsh vocals. I've been reading up about it lately. It's some pretty cool stuff. um, but yeah, there's different perceived pitches going on with these harshes. It's not melodic. It's not a melody. I'm not going to say that it is identical to the way that we had it because it isn't. It's a completely different style of vocal delivery, one focused primarily on texture more than pitch, but it's not just one tone all the time. And so it has a melodic quality to it. I can hear higher sounds and lower sounds, and different syllables will move between them, and that's kind of how melody is made. We can also look at the production of this to see that same similarity when we look at how they produced the folk section, what instrument had spotlight, how the mixing was done, where the layers were. We can feel something similar in this section as well. The drums and the guitar fill out more of a foundational area, and the vocals are above that, louder, wider. There's a lot of reverb on them, which I thought was interesting. Not very often you hear reverb on black metal vocals, but we have that here. I mentioned that the production was interesting overall. Not just that it matched the opening, but it's just very hi-fi for black metal. The guitar notes I could clearly hear. The drums, other than the bass kick, which was a little muddy, but still I could hear it, I could make it out. It wasn't drowned out in the mix. I heard everything about the drum kit. There's a little bit of compression everywhere, as a good producer is going to do with the drums, but it wasn't overbearing. And the vocals, I could almost make out syllables. That's wild. Everything comes across very high production, but kind of mainstream. I don't know if it was anyone else picking this up, but the low end was well presented, the high end was well presented, especially the vocal harshes, and the mids were kind of given less prominence. To me, that feels very mainstream. it's something that black metal doesn't play around with too often. And I found it to be good. That's a weird word to say with black metal, especially straightforward black metal like this. But I kind of enjoyed it for both of the aforementioned reasons. I can still 100% feel the folk elements in here. They just took a lot of the simplicity that was already baked into the original folk composition and amplified it. Not just running it through an amplifier and making it louder and distorted, but kind of really honed in on that. Oh, the chord progression's pretty repetitive? Guess what? Black metal's fine with that. We're just going to play that one note a lot rather than hold it out. The vocals have melodic flow to them. Well, our vocalist kind of has a melodic type of black metal scream. The drumming is simple. Well, guess what? Black metal can do repetitive, simple drums too. Not simple to execute, I'll tell you. I have no idea how these people do this on a pure stamina level. But the pattern is simple and repeated often. There's not a lot of change, there's not a lot of depth to it. All of this reflects the opening, and so I can clearly hear how one evolves into the other, and the high quality production allows me to hear some of the nuance in it as well. It allows me to appreciate what's actually going on. The weight of everything, of the wall of sound, of the blast beats, of the shrieks, makes sense within that folkier context. I don't remember what the lyrics are for this track. I think that's fairly accurate with most of the stuff we listen to. Music will embed itself into my mind. Moments will sear themselves into my memories. Lyrics I tend to forget, usually after I turn the camera off. It's probably because I devote so little time to them, but also just because words don't click with me as well as music does, I suppose, as sounds. But I'm curious how I'll feel about the lyrics with this reinterpretation of the song. Because, like I mentioned, from a compositional perspective, everything here clicks. This is a great way of showing weight not through the harmonic density that we saw with Calandra's version and that was introduced at the beginning of this, but weight through sonic elements. It's creating the same vibes through a different lens. And I think that they did a fantastic job at that. It's not every day that I listen to a black metal track, especially a cover, and think, yeah, that works. Usually it's more like, yeah, that works. I hope that makes sense. If you listen to a black metal song of like a Britney Spears track, right? I'm sure they exist out there. It technically works. The song never falls apart. You can hear the original melody somewhere in the song, and it's very black metal. It's like it makes sense, but it just doesn't make sense to do. The lyrics aren't augmented by the new sound. The emotions and vibes of the original track aren't deeper explored here. It's literally just we made a metal version of it. And like there's a cool factor to that. But like I've mentioned in the past couple of themes that we've done regarding covers, I really enjoy synergy. I love when somebody hears something in a song and says, I would like to dig into that more. And so they make a cover that focuses on this one angle that maybe the original didn't. Metal covers of pop, stage tunes, and even folk sometimes don't click with me because there's little crossover. It's more of doing it because they can, more so than an artistic purpose, which, as usual, is fine. I still think it's cool to listen to genre flipped covers, even if there's no cohesion between the ideas of the original and the ideas in the cover, just because it's neat to hear how different genres would interpret an idea. But the covers that stick with me are the ones that feel cohesive, that feel like it should have been or could have been this way from the start. if only this song were conceived by someone different. I kind of feel like that fits here. Again, I want to check the lyrics and see if there's any cohesion there, but looking at just the musical side of things, I feel like it musically, the black metal aspect covers a lot of the same vibes and feelings of what I believe the original sounded like, given the similarities. I probably should just listen to the Wardruna version eventually. But it explores those same ideas in a different lens. And those are the covers I think are kind of neat. They're not just done for the sake of doing them, the artist has something they want to add to the conversation. With all that said, let's hit the lyrics and see what's going on in there. Yeah. I actually do remember these lyrics. Not precisely, but the general concept of it. It's a morning, not really a morning song. It's a song you would sing to somebody on their deathbed, preparing to move on to the other side to begin their walk down the road to hell. The Norwegian hell, not I guess the Viking hell, Norse hell, not Christian hell. Very different ideas. um, it's about comforting them in their passage to the next world, and about hoping that they find guidance to where they need to be. Interestingly, it also has an element of honoring those who have died in it, which I think is pretty awesome. It's sort of finds a level of both honoring the past and finding comfort in that you are going on a well-tread road. Which I think is a very cool perspective. I don't remember bringing this up last time. I don't think I landed on this conclusion, but I think dying is partially scary because it's a lonely thing for a lot of people. It is a pass, it's a trek, it's a journey you have to make on your own. And I think not only having a song that's about helping you find your way to the afterlife, but also having a bit of remembrance of those who have gone before you kind of puts things into perspective. You might be alone right now, but you're not the first to have made this journey. Despite not knowing what happens on the other side, people have done this before. You are now part of a large collective of people who have experienced their life and have moved on. There's a little bit of reassurance in that, I suppose, and I think it's pretty cool that the song lyrically goes in that direction. Now, the elephant in the room. Does the new direction for the music pair with the lyrics? Maybe. I think that I don't have a full picture of the lyrics. Google Translate is not doing a fantastic job at translating everything, and as usual, there's going to be stuff lost in translation. So I don't I don't know that I can accurately state this, but given what resources I have on the topic, I can see where there is a part of it. The second verse asks specifically, "Who will sing to me as I go into this deep sleep when I walk toward Helvegen, which is the road to hell, and the tracks that I tread are cold." I really like that line because it ties into a little bit of the idea of death. The body chills, the blood chills, it stops pumping, the body loses its warmth. So the tracks that you're treading are cold. You're going into a very cold perspective of living, the afterlife, whatever. But also, it might feel that this road well tread, the trail's gone cold on it. You might not know the path to hell. Those who have come before you and made this journey might seem like they're so distant. Again, trying to find that calm, that reassurance about this entire process. There is a weight to this. There's a heaviness that I think is sort of presented underneath the surface. We kind of see some of this in the earlier bits. I'd mentioned that the weight of the black metal stuff is analogous in a sense to the weight of the dense harmonies in the folk stuff. I kind of think that having the weight be presented through harmony, so it's less felt, works a little better than the black metal. The metal feels blunt. It's very in your face. Here's a wall of sound. That I think it's more of a delicate concept and emotion in the lyrics, but it also is different from person to person. I'm sure some people may feel the weight of death more heavily than others. The weight of feeling lost after one's death, trying to get to the afterlife, might be felt heavier than some others. I can kind of see this direction in it. What I really like, as far as I can tell, is that the last thing we hear in the metal and the black metal shrieks is you are released from the bonds that bind you, you are freed from the bonds that bound you. This idea that you are now released of your mortal body, your spirit can proceed on to the next thing. You are free. And the weight of the track ends there. We end the track returning back to the folk side of things. And there's a little poem here that somebody explained to me came from an external source. It was sampled from an old poem, I think. And this is more of that reassurance side of things, and I like that. With all of the weight and crushing power of the metal, you find at the end that you're free and that weight is lifted. It's a wonderful way to end the track. I really love that. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Nornir's interpretation of Helvegen. Who else has covered this? Let's just make a whole running series and checking out Helvegen covers and never listening to the original. But no, I enjoyed this. This is kind of something that I'd like to do more of. Because, we did covers week. We've done 2 covers week, haven't we? Where we check out the original and we check out a cover of it. But I think it's interesting not just to look at one cover, but multiple. How do different people interpret the same idea, especially when they're not the person who made the original idea? Again, I wouldn't mind doing this with other tracks, but I also wouldn't mind continuing down this road, seeing who else has done this. Helvegen in different styles, of course. If we just listen to another pure folk track that sounds very similar to whatever that other band. Dang, why did I close that? I can't think of the band name now. You guys know who I'm talking about, though. I brought the band up a couple of times. If they're doing something pure folk like they were again, though, I don't think that would be too interesting from an analytical and reaction process. But continuing to see different perspectives on different takes on the same song, I think that'd be pretty neat. What are your thoughts on this, though? Those are mine, of course. Did you enjoy it? Is there anything that stood out to you? Anything you'd like to correct me on? Let me know down in the comments section. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. It takes you here. You can submit your own special selections through here. You can find my music, other ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server. You can find the channel schedule in there. There's a ton of stuff. I cram it full of everything related to the channel. Go ahead and check it out. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, though, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC, as usual. We're going to continue on with our post-hardcore journey. Been looking forward to this week. So excited for it. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.